First of all, Coach, you had a tough time coming out with anything to say on social media, and you finally did it, and it was a 4-word tweet. It has to stop. Explain.
Well, obviously, with all the stuff that is going on in society, I just want to be careful when I speak, because you represent yourself, but you represent a lot of people, and that's all walks of life. And I think the thing that I've tried to make clear, this is about fighting racism. And I think when you're dealing with racism, it's the same way you would deal with cancer, or you deal with someone with AIDS. You fight to kill the disease. You do everything in your power. We spend X amount of dollars every year fighting, raising money to kill those diseases. We have to exert the same amount of energy to fight racism. So that's what it's simply about. Now, again, I think in George's situation, to be able to see that, and I think the whole world was able to see it, so time stopped, so to speak. And I think with the COVID virus, as much damage as it has caused, the world had a chance to see that. And I think the thing with this situation, where it seems like the movement is different from all people, all walks of life and all nationalities, I think the difference is we're able to stop, and there's no tomorrow. So it's not there's a sporting event tomorrow so we can sweep it under the rug, or there was a championship and we forgot about it a week later. I think this is who we are as a nation right now, and we have to address this situation.
You brought in Jeff Jones, the chief of police in Columbia, Missouri, to speak to your players. Tell me why.
I thought, well, he's a part of the community, and I think if you speak to him as a man, I think he's a wonderful man. Of course, he's done a tremendous job as a police chief. But when he spoke to our guys, I felt like it was important, because you have young guys that are angry. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to lash out. They don't know what to say, who to talk to, and the person that's supposed to protect me the most, meaning the police force, I'm struggling with understanding why I'm supposed to like this person. And I mean, overall, the job itself. So I had Chief come in. And again, we have police officers come in and talk with our guys. And I've always tried to promote to our guys of being a police officer, being a police force. So when he talked, and I thought he did such a great job, and he just basically, he said, man, I'm struggling because I have a job to do, and I want you guys to be transparent. You speak to me. You can get angry. Whatever you want to do in this platform, let's do it. And let me help you as you move forward. And when we got off the call, I had 2 of my players said that they would like to be police officers, or at least try to attempt to be a police officer when they're done playing basketball, because he did such a great job. Because again, he's just like all of us. He's a father first. He's a husband. He is that. He just happened to have a tough job.
What's your message when you are counseling your players during these turbulent times?
Well, it's not so much as, for us, we talk about these things. We talk about life issues all the time. We have, you've heard me probably say, we have real talk sessions, and that could be anything. So it's not as if let's rattle the guys, let's scramble and get them on a Zoom call. Let's talk about this just in case something happens. We talk about it all the time. And for me, it's just guys understanding that this is a real world. This is real life stuff. We have to deal with it. What do you need to talk about to get it off your chest? How do we move forward? If you feel there's a need to protest, be sound in how you go about your business, and do it because your heart says it, not let me jump on board because this food, this cooler, this is fun. Do it because your heart says do it, and I'll follow your lead.
Coach, a personal question. Even though you have a good job and you're living in a safe place, have you encountered much racism in your life?
No. Now, again, you can sit there and say, well, if you walk into a store, people deal with those sorts of things all the time. But no, I mean, growing up in East St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, at the time it was 100% black. So I mean, that was all family, so to speak. That was my home. So you're talking about that old saying you would hear all the time, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, that's what it was. I mean, if I was doing something down the street, I was getting in trouble from that mom down the street. And then when I got home, it was the same thing. So then from my elementary coaches to the high school coaches, that was all family. One of the assistant coaches on our coaching staff who come to all our games here at Mizzou, he was a police officer, state trooper, if I'm not mistaken. So, and that's like family. So for me, there was never a hate for a police officer growing up. I mean, I don't know what age it stopped. And I think it inspired to be a basketball player or baseball player, but I always, I thought about being a police officer. So we have those dreams and those aspirations growing up. So no, I've never had that level of encounter where I felt like I was threatened for my life. No.
How about even driving your car in Columbia or in Berkeley
No,
or in Springfield?
no places like that. The only time I had a real encounter is when I was driving back from, I was in the state of Oklahoma and I was driving back from seeing a recruit, and I know I was headed toward Tulsa. I can't remember what town it was. I was headed toward Tulsa back to Missouri. And this is when I was at Missouri State, and a police officer pulled me over, and I'm assuming he was a state trooper, maybe a federal officer. And when he pulled me over, he just said, this is a heavy highway as far as drug trafficking on this highway. And I got out of the car and went back into his truck. And we probably talked for 15 minutes. You know, he checked my information, and then we talked a little bit after that. So I would say that would have been a case of wrongfully accusing me of anything. I don't think at that time. Now, I've been caught speeding before, so I want to be clear there. But I don't think that was the case at that time. So outside of that was probably the only time I would say.
Coach, when you're home at night and you turn on the television and you're watching with your wife or with your kids what's going on in St. Louis, New York, Atlanta, LA, what do you think when you see what's going on there right now every night?
You feel bad. You feel bad. You feel sad. You oftentimes you're at a loss for words, and I'll kind of give you some stuff like my mom talked about, and then I think for me, and this is where it starts, and you feel bad in ways because you have to get out in front of this, and I think we as a people have to get out in front of it. I remember I was in California when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and I think what happens with all of us, we get caught up in self-preservation. You know, you're providing for your family, and in most cases, in Black communities, you not only provide for your immediate family, but loved ones, you know, young kids in the community. So you provide not just for yourself. So though you want to be a part of it, you want to jump out there with Colin Kaepernick because you understood 100% what he was dealing with and what he was fighting. It had nothing to do with a flag. So let's be clear there. But you don't. So now deep down inside, you struggle with that. And I know I struggle with it because I should have got out there, you know, and I didn't. So self-preservation took over in that situation, and that can no longer be the case. I'm exhausted, but more in pain for not saying anything in the past or not stepping out in the past, and just not really knowing how. But also I've worked for a university, so finding the respect level to respect. I'm working for somebody as opposed to working for myself. It'd have been totally different. So you have to respect that space as well.
Something you said earlier about Jeff Jones speaking to your club, that your players were really angry, and then by the end of his speech, some of them said they'd like to be police officers. Elaborate on that. Well,
because of what he talked about, and it just, again, he was real. Every police officer, if they have children, they're married, their husbands, their wives, they have children, their family members, they're part of the community. So they're human. They go through things just like us. I mean, I would imagine some of the best police officers, when they saw that activity, it probably shook them up somewhat, but they still have to deal with it and do their job. So, and our guys, once they finish talking with him, they realize that they can be a part of the change. They realize the opportunities that they can change the world. And that is one of the ways you can do it. And I've said it before, I think that, in my opinion, the three most powerful entities in our society, in our world, are school teachers, because they impact young lives. And I remember all of my school teachers, how they treated me. They showed me love. They made me feel good. They gave me confidence. They chewed on me in a positive way when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And it was a whole school system. And I remember just them having the passion, the motivation to push me forward. But also the other part in our communities are the police officers. That is a powerful position. And that position, in my opinion, has to have the mindset of a Navy SEAL. You have to train at such a high level with so much precision, because you're talking about lives on the line. There's a 50-50 chance when there's an interaction, a volcano erupts, and it's 50-50 chance somebody doesn't make it home. So how do we do our best job in finding out that situation and understanding we're both trying to get home? I think that is the most important thing. That young man or that young lady is trying to get home just like that police officer. Everybody's trying to make it home. And I think that is important. So that police officer has a powerful position. Then I think the last entity in our society, in our communities, ultimately our world, are the ministries, the churches, the pastors, the bishop, the Catholic priest, all these positions. That is a powerful space to be in, because that is the next step in the human lives and people in the community. That's the closest thing to God that they see and they feel. And when they pay tithe and they're part of those lives in those churches. I need you to help me. So those communities have to help in the community, because the people need them just as much. And I think, in my opinion, those three entities are very powerful in this walk of life as we continue to help Black lives. And ultimately, you hear all the time when people say all lives matter. I agree with that 100%. But with that being said, if all lives truly matter, then why aren't we all protesting if they all matter? Because it can't just be half. Because if they all matter, then we shouldn't have space to protest. And if they all matter, then we wouldn't be protesting, because everything will be solved. So we have to understand, when we say Black Lives Matter, there's a situation that is taking place. Black men, in most cases, are being gunned down in these communities. And we have to find a way to solve this problem. So that's when you say Black Lives Matter, they do matter. And then I think on the flip side, Frank, you sit back, and I don't need to sit there and say I have white friends and this many friends. I have friends, they all colors, all shapes, sizes, and colors. I don't need to do that. But how many white people would say, I love to be in that Black person's shoes. I love to live in his shoes. That is a great life. I'm not talking about LeBron James and Michael Jordan or Beyonce. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I love to be in their shoes. I don't think many would say they would.